This is John for Global Traveler Magazine. Today I have the pleasure of being on the beat with one of my dear friends, author John Cosper. How you doing, John?
I know that book. I'm doing fine, John. How you doing?
Good, man. This is the one that started it all, right?
I would say it restarted it all. Say I've been writing fiction for a long time, and mostly used to do sci-fi, and I kind of look at my fiction career, even in the wrestling stuff too. As I saw John Carpenter at a Comic-Con once, and somebody got up and said, "What advice do you have for somebody who wants to go to Hollywood and make horror films?" And John Carpenter goes, "Well, I went to Hollywood to make westerns, so I'm not the guy to ask." So, I growing up, I was never really a horror kid, not a monster kid. My greatest exposure was a film which I think you can watch on YouTube called "It Came from Hollywood."
Yeah.
A great clip movie comedy that introduces you to all the wonderful B movies of the 1950s and that era, with Cheech and Chong and Gilbert Radner and Dan Aykroyd as John Candy as your host. And as an adult, I got more into things and stuff. But yeah, as far as where I'm at right now with fiction and what's become Dead Park Books, yeah, Dead Park Plaza is definitely the one that kind of rebooted it all for me.
So you've got a new Dead Park book out.
I do, yeah. Book four, Dead Park Estates. It's funny. I tried it in my past as a sci-fi writer. I tried to write a couple of trilogies, and I'd get two books, and I just lose interest and just wouldn't know where to go with a third. Dead Park. My gosh, I've got a couple more still writing. Yeah, I thought it was going to be six, that it was going to be seven, and it might actually end up being eight. And I just recently completed the first draft of book number five, and I have a couple things written on number six. But yeah, Dead Park Estates. So it started with, for those who aren't familiar, Dead Park Plaza is an office building built on the former grounds of the Lead Park munitions plant. It's referred to as Dead Park as because mysterious and strange things happen there. It's a four-story office building. It's just kind of an innocuous office building, built actually inspired by one I used to work at. That's now the world headquarters for Texas Roadhouse over in Louisville. Nothing against Texas Roadhouse, just happens. I used to work for a telecom, and yeah, I was there the day they sent us all an email when the tech bubble burst and cancel all your appointments. HR is coming in tomorrow. We all knew we were getting fired, and HR showed up with these two guys that had big bulges under their,
Yeah.
their armpits and everything, just in case there was an incident. Whatever. We're a bunch of dejected, salespeople being fired. We're not going to cause an incident with these nice ladies. It's not their fault. But yeah, I was kind of inspired by that office building, and what really kickstarted me writing these books and then starting with that first one was I got a text from my dad, and he had this idea for a story. He'd had a dream, and when this guy got a new job, and he sat down and fired up his computer, and his printer printed off a letter from the previous person who had that desk, telling whoever it was at this new desk, "You were in grave danger. You need to get out of this place now." Um, it was the last text my dad ever sent me. Like a couple days later, he went in the hospital, and literally 2 weeks he was gone. And didn't really think much about the story for a while. And then one day I'm driving somewhere, and I realize, wait a minute, I've got this story idea. I have another old story idea about an office that goes tribal when their boss dies first thing in the morning. Um, and just everybody turns on each other. Got another idea involving a woman and her boss and cannibalism in the office. Like I have three horror stories that all take place in an office, and I spent a good chunk of my adult life working in cubicles, which is no way for people to live. I
Agreed.
love
Yeah,
how
I've been
I
there.
love how I love how the work environment has changed. I've been working from home for the last couple of years in my previous job, and in a brand new job that I absolutely love. I've got a wonderful day job these days. I actually enjoy my day job. I enjoy the people I work with. I work with people that encourage me and give me opportunity to grow and learn and do better. And it's been great. But I've been in those soul-sucking jobs a long time. And it was funny because three stories led to four, led to five. I kept finding things that I'd half written and set aside on my desktop, and all office related stuff. So, that was where Dead Park Plaza came from, was the office building kind of gave me this center to center all these stories around. And again, just horror stories that take place in an office, and not serious horror at all. I mean, we've got a toilet that eats people. And again, the one about the cannibalism cannibalism. Yeah, is there some gore in it? Oh yeah, but there's some ridiculousness to it, and if you want to read into it, class warfare and getting back at the race, yeah, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. I write stories to entertain. I'm not trying to say anything here. With the Office going tribal, really all I had with that for years was just a title. I was going to call it Lord of the Files, you know. And full disclosure, I haven't read Lord of the Flies. I don't really have any interest in it. Sorry, folks. But just seeing the boss dies, and so who takes out, and so, is it the accounting department that's going to come to the fore? Is it sales? And then outside sales comes in and the dynamics shift again. And, people are ripping the arm off the paper cutter and using it as machetes on each other and everything. And, just kind of playing with the ludicrousness of being in an office, but in creating this world, creating this Dead Park Plaza. I accidentally set up, for a series because I mentioned that on the grounds of this military base, there's an outdoor shopping mall and there's a neighborhood. So the Shops at Dead Parks becomes book number 2, takes place at the mall. Book number 3 actually was an old screenplay that I'd written, hadn't gone anywhere, that I was like, wait a minute, I could make this, about a record company it doesn't take place at Dead Park, but Dead Park Records is tied to Dead Park because it's about a company based at Dead Park Plaza. It's about a record company and about a record executive who gives a young man the opportunity of a lifetime. If you want to be a big rock star, okay, I will give you a contract. I don't even need to hear your music. All I need you to do is take this gun and go murder this girl in this photo. Here's where she works. And then book 4 is Dead Park Estates. Dead Park Estates takes place in that big high-end neighborhood, and all. Yeah, again, it's been kind of fun because all these ridiculous little things from different stories that I've had half-baked and here and there. I'll just keep finding their way into these books. It's a really neat kind of a melting pot as far as that, my imagination and everything. And as far as what kind of horror is in here, well, we've touched on some of the stuff. Some of it's human versus human. Some of it's cannibalism. There's something insidious, and that there's whoever is on the top floor of this office building is in charge of whatever's going on. There's monsters coming from other dimensions. That's kind of been established. Cryptids are tied in. Cryptids came into it with the mall. There's a frozen yogurt stand there. There's a guy that writes about the frozen yogurt stand, and Mothman was a regular, the Flatwoods Monster, vampire. There was it's a love story about him and a vampire that would come in after hours to get the special flavor that the guy made for. There's a video rental outlets in the mall. Strangely enough, still in this day and age, it not only rents VHSs but it rents RCA Selectivisions. If you don't know what those are, look them up. And the RCA Selectivision becomes the center of one of the stories in that second book. Where it's anything you watch in that, it comes to be. And a couple of kids break in one night, they watch a couple horror films, and they accidentally unleash all kinds of horror on the mall, and unintentionally. So, and then again, we get to the estates, and it's just a chance to play. It's just a chance to have fun with things and stuff. And one of my favorite urban legends is the story of DB Cooper. DB Cooper gets tied into Dead Park in book 4. Like I say, it's just a fun world, and it's just one short story after another. I will say this too. You've read Die Allen Die, which is kind of one of the later
Yes.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
That actually predates Dead Park Plaza. Die Allen Die actually gets tied into this universe
Oh, geez.
or so,
Really?
which was about alternate dimensions and everything like that, and everything. And it just, if you read the book, even if you haven't, you read Dead Park Estates and you read Dial and Die, or you read Dial and Die, then you read Dead Park Estates, you can see where they connect and they tie in. There's other worlds, there's alternate realities, or there's other things going on, and wherever these creatures are coming from, some of them are just there to make a living. They're just there to hang out and do stuff. Tell you who else gets tied in Dead Park Estates? Madman Pondo.
Oh,
I I
no,
had a
wow.
story. There's a story. There's an indie, a crummy little indie wrestling promotion running near close enough to Dead Park that there might be some legendary figures that are involved in that. But
Oh, he's gotta love that.
there's a great scene where a guy walks in and all of these mythical legendary characters are all sitting around at a guy's poker game in his house in Dead Park Estates, and right there with him, Man Pondo, who's not there to play poker, but he's this guy's ride.
Of course. Of course.
So,
Well,
I said, "Can I throw you in a book?" He's like, "Hell yeah, I don't care. That sounds great."
of course,
Dude,
Pondo.
Pondo loves horror, so it was a
Yeah.
natural jump, right?
I love all your fiction books, but specifically the Dead Park ones because whenever I'm interviewing an author who's done sequels like that, I always say like, how do you prevent them from becoming formulaic? How do you prevent the cookie cutter? Yours is I don't want to say it's simple, but you've made it's very clear why it's not cookie cutter. You've taken the same concept, you expand the world, you brought it to different places. You don't lose any of the charm, the humor, the gore of the original, but you make it a different setting, which creates a whole different atmosphere. I love the books. I absolutely love the books. I have not gotten four yet, but I will be getting four.
Thank you. Thank
But
you.
now you said you've got five, six, seven. How many do you think like right now in your head, like where's the limit right now? Obviously it can grow more in the future, but do you think like at least seven?
Let's see. So five is going to actually be going back to the office building. I had not intended it to be. I had
Oh,
actually
there's a
said
lot of floors.
I set up an end game in book four as to where it's going to end. And I thought so book five could have been the end, but first thing all of a sudden I had more office stories. There's more stories to tell within the office. And I think and that kind of gives me a central framework too, for pitching these and proposing, and he's like, do you have a miserable job? Do you work in a cubicle? You're gonna love these stories, and it kind of, just like book three kind of ties back in with to it, sort of with the record company. There's there, it kind of goes back to that, and I mean, everybody can relate to having a bad job, working in a bad environment, working with bad people. So, book four, and and it's different stories. It's not retelling, it's not retreading territory. And I try to do some experimental things too, but book one has the one story that's told through a series of emails from different people. And another one is, the one about the office going tribal. It's two different employees live journals that day as to what they're in telling what was going on. And some stories are told through, just different content, trying to find different ways to tell those stories. But and making sure I'm not repeating. I had two stories that were very, very similar, kind of had a very similar angle, in the first draft of Dead Park 5, and one of those stories has been moved to the next book. As far as how many there could be, at least seven.
That's good news.
Because somebody brought up to me on Facebook, this is built on a former military base, and all this stuff happened was a military base. When are we going to get a book about the military base? And I'm like, oh, there's some stuff, and and at the same time, the fun thing about that is, it still kind of continues on with the office horror because, yeah, it's a military base and there's military stuff and there's top secret stuff going on. But at the end of the day, it's people going to a job, a lousy job, and oh yeah, there just happens, this guy just happens to be the guy who has to go out in the field with, the grafted monster from West Virginia, who I'll give a slight spoiler alert, but the cryptids basically they're from another world, and they're this evil entity that's come in and made this deal to where he can do stuff on this military base now. He's like, you have enemies within your borders. You have these Russian spies. I know this special group of creatures that could come in and help you find Russian spies. So the cryptids basically came to this world to help us hunt Russian spies. And then after some new technology comes in, which we talk about in shops at Den Park, and then it all gets tied in and fully explained in book four, as to why they've lost their way and lost their jobs. But what's it going to be like sitting in a crappy motel on a stakeout waiting for a Russian spy to slip up and reveal themselves with the grafted monster, in 1968 when all he wants to do is watch Batman and Green Hornets, um, just kind of random ideas that have got floating out there. And and I can, just some really random, random workplace and just interpersonal stuff. And it's all about those personal stories too, and it's somebody's personal interaction and I used to listen to Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and then, whenever Jerry Lewis's name came up, you always get the comment, well, he was always nice to me. And
Yeah.
so you starting really with book five, you're going to get some of these stories. It's like, well, I worked there, and yeah, there were evil people there, but they were really good to us. We got good benefits. We got, they were fair and everything and stuff. And because that's, sometimes you do feel like you're selling your soul to the devil to work for these people. It's like, Do I like the people I'm working for that I'm making money for? No, but this job's 5 minutes from my house. It's 5 minutes from my kid's school.
Oh,
The
exactly.
people I work with every day are good people. I like my customers. I just happen to be working for a lousy manager right now. Comes in and swear to God, I'm gonna effing kill you all if you screw this transition up. And this, I heard that said in a boardroom
Yeah, I've
during a
heard.
CRM switch. I will effing kill you. Former Marine that really needed to go and see some counseling. So, um,
But that's the beauty. It is relatable, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
if you haven't been in that experience, you could still enjoy it because now you're an outsider going, "Wow, I'm glad I'm missing that." You know,
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
it's so relatable on every level, and I love the fact that there's so many possibilities within this. You can go back to any of the four books, and revisit those things, or you could expand the universe like you're just talking about now with the military base.
Mhm.
I think the possibilities are endless. And with your mind, you could delve into those. And I mean, I know you said seven, there's no promises, but man, I hope it keeps going because I
Yeah.
absolutely love these books.
I say there's another old story that's just kind of been sitting off to the side, and I need to talk to somebody about it because it's something I did sort of in conjunction to get their okay on it. But I was talking with them this week and helping them with the side project, and I was like, wait a minute, this could tie in. This could become a Dead Park story. And again, even Dial and Die technically is a Dead Park story. It's a science fiction story.
Sure.
It's a multiverse story. It's more of a romance. There's no horror to it, and there's violence and there's shoot 'em ups and stuff like that. Just to touch on it briefly, the concept of Dial and Die. This guy, anytime a girl breaks up with him, his comeback line, his thing is, in another dimension, you and I, we end up happily ever after. And one day, the girl that just dumped him shows up on his doorstep from another dimension, but she's there to kill him. So yeah, and that kind of the adventure kind of spirals from there, and we cross hop dimensions. I had fun with that one. I try to keep things, I love listening to Conan O'Brien, and he was actually talking to Albert Brooks this week about comedy that's evergreen, comedy that you can look at
Yeah.
it. It's from 40 years ago, but it's still funny. If you pull up, and if you're not familiar with him and his comedy, if you go to YouTube and you Google Albert Brooks ventriloquist, you look at his ventriloquist routine from 50 years ago, it's still funny. You don't have to know anything about what's going on at that time culturally to get it. He's playing the world's worst ventriloquist. Blatantly talking with his mouth, drops the dummy on the ground to light the cigarette while the dummy is going to sing Swanee River. It's evergreen, and I try to do that. But, a trend with sci-fi the last several years has been this whole thing of tying in is particularly 80s references. Like Ready Player One is just loaded with references to Buckaroo Banzai and Back to the Future and all this kind of stuff. And so with Dial and Die, I had this character who's obsessed with the 1940s, and I did that with the 1930s and 40s. He's this brilliant scientist, and he has a hologram in his house of Groucho Marx, and that's like his houseboy, and he has this collection of John Wayne stuff and everything in his house. And when you go to another dimension, you find out he has gone back in time and saved Thelma Todd from being murdered and brought her into present day to be his girlfriend. Know who Thelma Todd is. Now send somebody to go and look her up. But I just thought it was a fun thing to play with. Instead of giving all these 80s references, it gives like even more data. Because
Oh
your book,
yeah.
it's I love that. That's my genre. I connected with Ready Player One and I enjoyed it. It's gonna be dated, very very fast. So why not just go all the way back to the 1930s and have some guy obsessed with the Marx Brothers Thelma Todd movies and stuff. So but yeah, you're right. It's a sandbox. It's fun to play in. Like I said, book five will be The Office. Book six will be the military, and I do have my end game book at some point down the road. I know where that story is going to be, and I'm setting up even more of that book within book five. There's some more connections that are happening to that book and kind of creating that world because I really have no idea how to write that book. I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm still writing others, and I need to start making notes so I get everything in there. And two, the stories they do reward you as you go through. There's a story that begins. There's this whole love story that pays off in book four that was set up in book one, not intentionally, and then the end of book three, Dead Park Records, the next piece of the puzzle comes together. That it all comes together in book four, and you get to see the whole picture of what's going on here, and it's a love story between a human woman and an interdimensional being. That's the be kind of the highest overview that I can possibly give of it. So as to what it's about, but no, it's so much fun to play with, and it's just again it's kind of nice too because it's like don't really care for this story, but this one's a lot of fun, and um, I was actually on draft four. It was getting a little too silly and ridiculous. I was like, I need something gory. I need something really, really just messed up and gored up in this one. So just trying to make sure that I don't lose that edge with them as we go along, because it's and comedy's always been my wheelhouse, and I did theater and I did comedy and stuff like that, and comedy short films for a long, long time. But making sure that we still keep some suspense and some horror. Um, kind of involved in there, and making sure and continuing to play with stuff people can relate to. I've had some friends over the last year going through issues with non-compete clauses, and the thought occurs to me, what if you signed a non-compete with somebody at Dead Park Plaza and you broke it? What would the consequences for most people would be? You might get sued, you might this and that. What's the consequences if you break a non-compete clause with somebody at Dead Park Plaza? It's going to
Yeah,
be more sinister.
yeah, of course, and fun.
Yeah, yeah.
John,
So.
before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find out all the information about your books,
Books
including
can be found at
from start to finish.
deadparkbooks.com. I've got the Dead Park series, Die Allen Die, which we talked about. It's available on there. Horror book we haven't talked about, Zombies of Oz. The title says it all. It's the Wizard of Oz meshed with a zombie story is there. Girl Most Likely to Kill You. I've got a copy of that one sitting right here because giving that to a friend of mine this weekend. This one has a story that I worked on for close to 20 years, and it was going to be a screenplay. It ended up being a novel. It's a spy story. It's a romance story. I'm finding that a lot of the readers that really enjoy that one are women who like the kind of romance, the romantic adventure, and I'm kind of leaning into that, writing a sequel to it right now. They'll be coming out next year, hopefully. Girl Most Likely to Get You Killed. So if you're into that
Like,
kind of a thing, it's a story. Boy meets girl in high school. The girl disappears on prom night before he can tell her they're best friends, and he's madly in love with her, but she disappears before he can tell her how he feels. She shows up 20 years later. It's a whirlwind romance. Everything seems to be going great. And then his car blows up. And then his very brilliant students, one of whom is a conspiracy theorist, comes and tells him, I think your girlfriend might be the most wanted assassin on the face of the planet. And kind of spirals from there. So if you're into that kind of romance thing, that's no horror there, definitely some action, a little bit of violence, a little bit of blood, a lot of humor again too. Just a really fun book, and the sequels kind of came out of nowhere. Just long story short, somebody asked for a prompt on Twitter. Can somebody give me an idea for a story about moving and something happening? And so I wrote the prompt out and quickly deleted it because I was like, no, wait a minute. All of a sudden, I was like,
yeah,
oh wait, this could be. It's like I
yeah.
had no intentions. This was a one-off. There was not going to be any more. But I was like, no, there's a second story there. So I don't know if there'll be a third or not, but I'm just taking them one at a time. So this one came out of nowhere, so maybe a third one will surprise me down the road.
Well, they're all good ones. So obviously, this interview is not going to air in time for people to get these as Christmas gifts, but there's New Year's gifts. There's
Oh,
there's
please,
there's
yeah, yeah.
random gifts.
New
Get
Year,
it.
New You. Spend more time in books and spend less time on your screen. I mean, people can still see the top of your head, but they see it, over a book and not over your screen. So, and my stuff is all on Amazon as well. It's available on Kindle. Kindle's actually got a great deal. All of my books are, the fiction stuff. It's all $2.99 if you're a Kindle reader. You can buy the entire Dead Park series for less than $12 on Kindle as one bundle. You buy it, and you get all four of them at once. And as the series expands, they'll all be headed up there. But book 5 will definitely be out this next year. Book 6 most likely. If there's a 7 and then an 8, 2025, they'll be coming. So I got plenty to keep me busy, and I mean it's a great sandbox. I'm having fun with it.
And I'm having fun with it. And everybody that I've led to through the Dead Park series loves them. I really I can't. I've listed you and your Dead Park books on Global Travelers, my top reads every year since we started talking about this. And number 4 will certainly be on it. And I look forward to number 5, which again I will bug you then for another interview about that.
It'd be wonderful. So yeah. If you worked at a cubicle, if you worked at an office, if you had a bad boss, if you had an annoying coworker, you're gonna find something to relate to in here. And if you haven't ever, you're gonna you read it, you're gonna be like, man, am I glad I never went that route.
That's
It's,
it. That's the perfect way.
you know,
Exactly.
but it's funny. I gave a copy of it to my new boss, and again, I have a wonderful day job these days. I love the folks I'm working for and love what I'm doing. But I gave it to him. I was like, I'm not sure I should be giving this to you. He's like, is there anybody that I know in this? Because again, I knew him from my previous job. You know, he was a vendor for my previous. You know, it's like, well, none of the monsters, none of the evil people in this are technically based on anybody that you would know. But yeah, there are people that have worked at that place that are definitely in this book. And there's people from different, you know, all any job I've ever worked at. If you've ever worked with me, hi guys, good to see you again. You might be in it, or you might recognize somebody that's in it. So
But either way, it's
and
all
for the most
fun.
part, you know, I didn't. This wasn't a vendetta thing. I didn't kill anybody that
Yeah.
you know, I disagreed with. You know, but mostly, you know, and it's particularly if I use your name, it's because I liked you and I'm paying homage to you. And if we had issues or something like that, then I probably changed the name. But it might be based on you. Who knows?
But that's part of the fun, part of the mystery.
Right, right.
John, thank you so much, man. You have a great holiday season, and we'll talk again sometime in 2024.
Sounds good, John. You have a Merry Christmas and folks, yeah, excuse me, deadparkbooks.com. Come check it out.
Check it out. There's a lot of great entertainment there. John, thank you very much, buddy.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.